The alarm bells rang through Nexus Prime Station like angry metal birds. Commander Zekthara's yellow eyes snapped open as his scaly hands reached for the communication panel. The reptilian officer had been sleeping in his quarters when the emergency signal woke him up. "What is happening?" Zekthara spoke into the device. His voice carried the deep rumble that all Korthak warriors used when they were worried. "Commander, you need to come to the sensor room right now," came the reply from Lieutenant Hixavel. "We have detected something big moving toward our space. Really big." Zekthara grabbed his uniform and ran through the metal corridors of the space station. Nexus Prime was the biggest monitoring post in this part of the galaxy. It watched over 12 different alien races and made sure they all followed the peace treaties. The Korthak Empire had built it 50 years ago to keep smaller species in line. The sensor room buzzed with activity. Officers from different alien races stood around glowing screens and computer displays. Their faces showed fear and confusion. Zekthara pushed through the crowd to reach the main viewing screen. "Show me what you found," he ordered. The screen lit up with a picture of deep space. At first, Zekthara saw nothing unusual. Then Lieutenant Hixval pointed to a small dot moving between the stars. "There, Commander. The computer says it is a ship, but look at the size readings." Zekthara's eyes went wide. The numbers on the screen could not be right. The unknown ship was bigger than a Korthak battlecruiser. It was bigger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Are you sure these readings are correct?" Zekthara asked. "We checked them 5 times, sir. The ship is real and it is heading toward the Andromeda trade route." Far away in space, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and looked out at the stars. The UNS Liberty was humanity's greatest achievement. It had taken Earth 20 years to build this massive warship after they discovered how to travel faster than light. Morrison was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought in Earth's resource wars before becoming a space captain. Those wars had taught him that peace was something you had to fight for. Now he was taking 3,000 human souls into unknown space to find new worlds and new friends. "Captain, we are picking up radio signals," said Admiral Lisa Hayes. She was Morrison's second-in-command and his oldest friend. They had served together on Earth during the bad times when countries fought over water and food. "What kind of signals?" Morrison asked. "Lots of them, sir. Different languages and different technologies. I think we have found other intelligent life." Morrison felt his heart beat faster. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for hundreds of years. First contact with aliens. He hoped they would be friendly. "Dr. Bennett, are you getting this?" Morrison called to the ship's scientist. Dr. Carl Bennett looked up from his computer station. He was a thin man with thick glasses who had studied alien life his whole career. Even though no one had ever found real aliens before, Bennett had spent years thinking about what they might be like. "Yes, Captain. The signals are coming from at least 12 different sources. This suggests we have found a community of alien species, not just one race. That is good news," Morrison said. "Maybe they can teach us about this part of space." But Morrison did not know that his ship was already causing panic across the galaxy. The Liberty was built like a fortress that could fly. Its thick armor and huge weapons made it look like a ship designed for war, not peace. On Nexus Prime, Commander Zekthara was sending urgent messages to the Galactic Council. The Council was a group of the most powerful alien races. They made the rules that everyone else had to follow. "Emergency meeting required," Zekthara typed into his computer. "Unknown ship approaching our space. Size and weapons unknown. Appears to be military vessel. Within an hour." Representatives from 12 different alien races were talking on video screens. They came from all over the galaxy to discuss this strange new threat. Ambassador Veltar spoke first. She was from the Etherian Collective, a peaceful race that looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin. The Etherians were known for being smart and calm. "Has anyone seen ships like this before?" Veltar asked. The other aliens shook their heads. War Marshal Thekmor of the Korthak Empire growled his answer. He was a huge reptilian warrior with scars across his face from many battles. "No one builds ships that big unless they plan to use them for war," Thekmor said. "We should destroy this vessel before it can attack us." "Wait," said Veltar. Maybe they are peaceful explorers like us. We should try to talk to them first. The Etherians are always too soft, Thekmor replied. For 3,000 years, the Korthak Empire has kept peace in this galaxy by being strong. No unknown ship will threaten that peace. Ambassador Veltar knew she had to act quickly. If the Korthak attacked first, there might be a war. She sent a message to her fastest diplomatic ship. Prepare for immediate departure, she ordered. We are going to make first contact with these strangers. On the Liberty, Admiral Hayes was trying to make sense of all the alien radio signals. Some sounded like music, others like news reports, and a few sounded like military communications. Captain, I think one of them is trying to talk to us, Hayes said. The signal is getting stronger and it is aimed right at our ship. Morrison straightened his uniform. This was the most important moment in human history. What he said next would decide whether humanity found friends or enemies among the stars. Put it on the main screen, Morrison ordered. The bridge became quiet as everyone waited to see their first alien. The screen flickered and then showed the face of Ambassador Veltar. Her blue skin and large eyes surprised the humans, but her smile seemed friendly. Greetings, unknown travelers, Veltar said in perfect English. Her voice was soft and musical. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Council. We welcome you to our part of space. Please let us meet and talk in peace. Morrison looked at his crew. They all nodded back at him. This was what they had come for. Ambassador Veltar, Morrison replied. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Nations ship Liberty. We come from Earth, and we are happy to meet you. We would like to learn about your galaxy and maybe become friends. But even as these words of peace were spoken, War Marshal Thekmor was gathering his war fleet. The Korthak Empire had ruled through strength for too long to let some unknown aliens change that now. The galaxy's worst nightmare was about to begin. The news traveled fast through the galaxy like fire spreading through dry grass. Every alien race with communication technology heard about the mysterious human ship within hours. Some were curious, others were afraid, but all of them wanted to know what these newcomers planned to do. On the water world of Korthak Prime, War Marshal Thekmor walked through his command center with heavy steps. His clawed feet clicked against the metal floor as he studied reports from across the galaxy. The massive reptilian warrior had never lost a battle in 40 years of fighting. General Vexhan, come here, Thekmor called to his second-in-command. General Vexhan was smaller than the War Marshal, but just as fierce. He had bright red scales and yellow eyes that always seemed angry. Like all Korthak officers, he had earned his rank by winning battles against alien rebels. Yes, War Marshal, what are your orders? These humans have made a mistake, Thekmor said. They rejected our protection. No species has ever done that before. What will we do about it? Vexhan asked. We will show them why the Korthak Empire rules this galaxy. Prepare the war fleet. I want every ship ready to fight within 2 days. Vexhan smiled, showing his sharp teeth. He loved a good fight. How many ships should I gather? All of them, Thekmor replied. These humans will learn to respect Korthak power. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Amanda Cole sat in her office in Washington and read Captain Morrison's reports. She was a strong woman who had led Earth through many difficult times. The resource wars had ended 5 years ago, but the planet was still healing from those terrible conflicts. This is bigger than we expected, President Cole said to her advisors. We sent the Liberty to explore space, not to start a war. General Frank Stone, Earth's top military officer, looked worried. He was an old soldier who had fought in 3 different wars. Madam President, these aliens sound dangerous. Maybe we should bring Captain Morrison home. No, President Cole said firmly. If we run away now, they will think we are weak. Earth spent too much time being afraid of other countries. We will not be afraid of aliens either. She turned to her communication officer. Send a message to Captain Morrison. Tell him he has full authority to protect human interests, but he should try to avoid a war if possible. Back in space, the Liberty floated near the neutral meeting point that Ambassador Veltar had suggested. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, and watched the alien diplomatic ship approach. It was a beautiful vessel that looked like it was made of crystal and silver. "It is much smaller than our ship," Admiral Hayes observed. "Do you think that means something?" Dr. Bennett adjusted his glasses and studied the alien vessel. "Maybe they do not build their ships for fighting. This could be a peaceful civilization. Or maybe they just do not expect trouble in their own territory," Morrison replied. He had learned not to trust appearances during the resource wars. "Chief Rodriguez, are our weapons ready?" Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez was a stocky man from Texas who could fix anything. He had worked on the Liberty's engines and weapons for 3 years. "All systems are green, Captain. We can fight or run if we need to." Morrison nodded. "Colonel Turner, how are your Marines?" Marine Colonel Beth Turner was one of the toughest women Morrison had ever met. She had fought in the Amazon War, where Earth's armies learned how to fight in space. Her Marines were trained for any kind of battle. "My people are ready, sir. If these aliens want trouble, we will give them more than they can handle." The meeting took place on the alien ship because Ambassador Veltar said it would show good faith. Morrison and Hayes put on their dress uniforms and took a small shuttle to the diplomatic vessel. The inside of the alien ship surprised them. Everything was smooth and curved, like the inside of a seashell. Soft music played in the background and the lights were gentle on their eyes. It felt more like an art gallery than a military vessel. Ambassador Veltar met them in a circular room with windows that showed the stars. She wore flowing robes that seemed to change color as she moved. 2 other aliens stood beside her, representing different species from the Galactic Council. "Welcome, Captain Morrison and Admiral Hayes," Veltar said with a bow. "Please sit, and let us talk about the future." They sat around a low table that seemed to be made from a single piece of crystal. Veltar served them a drink that tasted like flowers and honey. "Your ship is very impressive," Veltar began carefully. "We have never seen anything quite like it." Morrison decided to be honest. "The Liberty is a warship, Ambassador. Earth has known many conflicts, so we build our ships to be strong." The other aliens looked nervous when Morrison said this. One of them, a creature that looked like a giant insect, clicked its mandibles in what might have been fear. "We understand," Veltar replied. "All species must protect themselves. The Galactic Council offers protection to new members. You would be safe under Korthak supervision." "Supervision?" Hayes asked. "What does that mean exactly?" The insect-like alien spoke up. His voice buzzed like a machine. "New species join as junior members. You would follow Korthak military guidance and pay tribute for protection services." Morrison and Hayes looked at each other. They both understood what this meant. These aliens wanted Earth to become their colony. "Thank you for the offer," Morrison said politely. "But humanity prefers to make its own decisions. We would like to be friends and trade partners, but we will not accept alien rulers." The room became very quiet. Veltar's blue skin seemed to turn pale. The insect alien made clicking sounds that might have been alarm calls. "Captain Morrison," Veltar said slowly, "no species has ever refused Korthak protection. War Marshal Thekmor will not be pleased." "Then maybe it is time for things to change," Morrison replied. After the humans left, Veltar sent an urgent message to the Galactic Council. She knew that Thekmor would see this refusal as an insult. The War Marshal had built his reputation on the idea that all species would bow to Korthak power. On his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds, General Vexhan received orders from War Marshal Thekmor. The message was short and clear: show these humans their place in the galaxy. Vexhan smiled as he looked out at his battle fleet. 36 Korthak warships floated in perfect formation around his flagship. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Together, they represented the most powerful military force in the galaxy. "Helm, set course for the human ship," Vexhan ordered. "It is time to teach these newcomers about respect." Captain Morrison watched the approaching alien fleet on his main screen. He had hoped for peace, but he was ready for war. The Liberty had been built by humans who understood that sometimes you had to fight for your freedom. All hands battle stations, Morrison announced over the ship's communication system. This is not a drill. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could do when they were pushed too far. The Korthak battle fleet moved through space like a pack of metal wolves hunting their prey. General Vexhan stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the human ship grow larger on his screen. The Destroyer of Worlds was the biggest warship in the Korthak Navy, but even he had to admit that the human vessel looked impressive. "General, we are in weapons range," reported his tactical officer. "The human ship has not moved." Vexhan smiled. "Good. They know they cannot run from us. Send them a message. Tell them to power down their weapons and prepare to be boarded." On the Liberty, Captain Morrison gathered his senior officers in the main conference room. The walls showed tactical displays of the approaching alien fleet. 36 enemy ships surrounded them in a perfect circle, like hunters closing in on a wounded animal. "They want us to surrender," Admiral Hayes reported. "General Vexhan says we must submit to inspection and acknowledge Korthak authority." Chief Engineer Rodriguez shook his head. "Captain, their ships are smaller than ours, but there are a lot of them. Our computers say they have enough firepower to hurt us badly." Marine Colonel Turner crossed her arms. "My Marines are ready to repel boarders, sir, but I would rather fight them in space than let them onto our ship." Morrison looked at each of his officers. These were good people who had followed him across the galaxy. Now he had to decide whether to fight or surrender. He thought about Earth and the 3 billion people who were counting on him to represent humanity well. "Dr. Bennett, what do you think?" Morrison asked the scientist. Bennett cleaned his glasses nervously. "Captain, I have been studying their communications. The Korthak language has many words for dominance and submission, but very few words for cooperation between equals. I do not think they understand the concept of negotiation." "Then we will teach them," Morrison said firmly. "All hands battle stations. We did not come this far to bow down to anyone." The Liberty's crew moved to their combat positions with practiced efficiency. The ship had been designed for war, and every system had been tested during the long journey from Earth. Red lights flashed in the corridors as the massive vessel prepared for its first real battle. Navigator Sam Collins plotted escape routes while Weapons Officer Lieutenant Karen Hill brought the ship's guns online. The Liberty carried 6 enormous railguns that could fire tungsten slugs at incredible speeds. Each gun was bigger than most alien fighters. "Weapons are ready, Captain," Hill reported. "All 6 main batteries are loaded and tracking targets." The first shot came from a nervous Korthak gunner who thought the Liberty's sensor sweep was a targeting lock. A bright blue plasma bolt streaked across space and struck the human ship's shields. The energy barrier flickered but held. "They fired first," Morrison said calmly. "Return fire." The Liberty's main guns spoke with voices of thunder. 6 tungsten slugs, each weighing as much as a small car, flew toward the Korthak ships at a significant fraction of light speed. The aliens had never seen kinetic weapons fired with such power. The first slug punched through a Korthak cruiser's shields like they were paper. The second slug tore the ship in half. Debris and atmosphere vented into space as the alien vessel died in a ball of fire. "Direct hit on enemy cruiser," Hill reported with excitement. "Target destroyed." General Vexhan watched in shock as one of his ships vanished from his tactical display. In 40 years of fighting, he had never seen weapons that could destroy a Korthak vessel with a single shot. "All ships, focus fire on the human vessel," Vexhan ordered. "Destroy them now." The space around the Liberty lit up with dozens of plasma, bolts, and energy beams. The alien weapons were designed to burn through armor and melt metal, but the human ship's shields and armor had been built to stop Earth's most powerful weapons. The Liberty's point defense systems came alive. Hundreds of small railguns and laser turrets tracked incoming fire and destroyed it before it could reach the ship's hull. Streams of tungsten pellets and energy beams created a wall of death around the human vessel. "Their weapons are not getting through," Rodriguez reported from the engine room. "Shields are holding at 90%. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. Launch fighters. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Foster led 24 human fighter craft out of the Liberty's hangar bays. The small ships were fast and deadly, designed for space combat during Earth's resource wars. Each fighter carried missiles and railguns that could destroy much larger targets. The Korthak had their own fighters, but they were built for fighting in atmosphere, not the vacuum of space. The alien pilots found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned by human craft that moved like angry hornets. "Fox Squadron, this is Lead," Foster called over the radio. "Take out their bomber wings. Do not let them get close to the Liberty." The Yaubizauer space battle became a chaotic dance of death. Human fighters swooped between alien ships, firing missiles and railgun bursts. Korthak vessels tried to follow but could not match the speed and agility of Earth's military technology. Dr. Bennett watched the battle from the science deck and made notes on his computer. "Captain, I am analyzing their tactics. The Korthak fight like they are used to easy victories. They have not faced serious resistance in centuries." Morrison nodded as he watched another alien ship explode. "They are about to learn what humans can do when we are pushed into a corner." The battle reached its climax when Morrison made a decision that shocked both sides. Instead of continuing the long-range fight, he ordered the Liberty to charge directly at the Korthak flagship. "All power to forward shields," Morrison commanded. "We are going to ram them." The massive human battleship accelerated toward the destroyer of worlds like a metal comet. The Liberty's 6 main guns fired continuously, each shot punching holes in the alien flagship's hull. Smaller weapons raked the Korthak vessel with streams of deadly fire. General Vexhan realized too late what the humans were planning. "Evasive maneuvers!" he screamed. "Get us away from them!" But the destroyer of worlds was too big and slow to escape. The Liberty struck the alien flagship just behind the bridge section. The impact sent both ships spinning through space in a shower of metal and fire. Morrison was thrown from his command chair as the Liberty's hull groaned under the stress. Emergency lights flickered on and off as damage control teams rushed to their stations. "Damage report," Morrison called out. "We are hurt, but alive," Rodriguez replied. "The Korthak ship is breaking apart." Through the smoke and sparks, Morrison watched the alien flagship split into 2 pieces. General Vexhan's ship was dying, and the rest of the Korthak fleet had stopped firing. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the surviving alien ships," Hayes reported. "They are asking for terms of surrender." Morrison looked around his damaged bridge. His ship was wounded, but still fighting. More importantly, humanity had won its first battle among the stars. "Tell them to withdraw," Morrison ordered. "We did not come here to conquer anyone, but we will not be conquered either." The remaining Korthak ships turned and fled into deep space. Word of their defeat would spread across the galaxy within hours. The species that had ruled through fear for 3,000 years had been beaten by newcomers who refused to bow down. As the Liberty's crew worked to repair their ship, Morrison knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy would never be the same again. The news of the Korthak defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On 1,000 different worlds, alien leaders watched their communication screens in disbelief. The mighty Korthak Empire, rulers of space for 3,000 years, had been beaten by a single unknown ship. On the peaceful world of Ethereal Prime, Ambassador Veltar called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. Representatives from 12 different species appeared on holographic screens, their faces showing fear and confusion. "This changes everything," said Chancellor Nixara of the Zephyrian Horde. The insect-like creature clicked its mandibles nervously. "If the Korthak can be defeated, then none of us are safe." War Marshal Thekmore's scarred face filled the largest screen. His yellow eyes burned with rage as he spoke from his command ship. "One battle means nothing. The humans got lucky. I will gather every Korthak vessel in the galaxy and crush these upstarts." Veltar shook her blue head sadly. "More violence will not solve this problem, War Marshal. Perhaps we should try to understand these humans better." "The time for talk is over," Thekmore snarled. "Any species that refuses Korthak protection is a threat to galactic order. I will not let rebels destroy what we have built." Far away on Earth, President Amanda Cole stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the White House. Military advisors and scientists surrounded her as they studied reports from the Liberty. The room buzzed with excitement and worry. "Madam President, Our ship won the battle but took heavy damage, reported General Stone. Captain Morrison needs reinforcements if the aliens attack again. President Cole nodded. What is the status of Project Spearhead? Admiral Kate Phillips, Earth's newest space commander, stepped forward. She was a tough woman who had commanded submarines during the ocean wars. Now she was in charge of building humanity's first real space navy. We have 5 battleships under construction in the orbital shipyards, Phillips reported. They are based on the Liberty's design, but with improved weapons and armor. The first one will be ready in 2 months. Make it 1 month, President Cole ordered. If these aliens want a war, we will give them one they will never forget. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, thousands of workers labored around the clock. Earth's greatest shipyard had been carved out of a massive rock floating in space. The sound of cutting torches and heavy machinery echoed through the metal corridors. Chief designer Paul Martinez watched as giant cranes lifted armor plates onto the hull of the UNS Defiance. The new battleship was even bigger than the Liberty, with thicker armor and more powerful weapons. How long until the guns are installed? Martinez asked his assistant. 2 weeks, sir, but the new railguns are 50% more powerful than the Liberty's weapons. They should be able to punch through anything the aliens can build. Meanwhile, Captain Morrison stood in the Liberty's repair bay and watched his crew fix the damage. From their first battle, sparks flew as welders sealed holes in the ship's hull. The great battleship looked like a wounded giant, but it was far from defeated. Dr. Bennett approached with his tablet computer full of data. Captain, I have been studying the wreckage from the Korthak ships. Their technology is impressive, but old-fashioned. They have not improved their weapons in centuries. Why not? Morrison asked. Because they have not needed to. When you always win easily, you stop trying to get better. Earth's constant wars forced us to keep advancing our military technology. Colonel Turner joined them, her uniform still dirty from battle. My Marines collected some interesting items from the wreckage. The Korthak armor is strong but heavy. Their weapons are powerful but slow to aim. They fight like soldiers who expect their enemies to be afraid. Morrison studied the alien equipment. They have ruled through fear for so long that they forgot how to fight a real war. 3 weeks later, the Liberty's repairs were complete. The ship looked as good as new, with fresh armor plating and upgraded weapon systems. But Morrison knew that somewhere in space, the Korthak were gathering their forces for revenge. Captain, we are receiving a message from Earth, Admiral Hayes reported. Admiral Phillips is coming with the new fleet. 5 human battleships dropped out of faster than light. Travel near the Liberty's position. The UNS Defiance, UNS Vigilant, UNS Intrepid, UNS Resolute, and UNS Guardian formed up alongside the Liberty in perfect formation. Each ship was a floating fortress bristling with weapons. Admiral Phillips transferred to the Liberty for a meeting with Morrison. She was a small woman with gray hair and steel blue eyes that missed nothing. Captain Morrison, you have done excellent work out here, Phillips said, but intelligence reports suggest the Korthak are massing a huge fleet. We may be facing over 200 enemy ships. Morrison felt his stomach tighten. 6 human ships against 200 aliens seemed like impossible odds. What are our orders, Admiral? We hold this position and protect the trade route to Earth. If the Korthak want to attack human space, they will have to go through us. On the barren world that would become known as Terminus Base, Marine Colonel Turner supervised the construction of humanity's first interstellar military outpost. Prefabricated buildings rose from the rocky ground, while defensive turrets tracked the empty sky above. This will be our line in the sand, Turner told her officers. If the aliens want to reach Earth, they will have to take this base first. The Korthak fleet was gathering in the shadow of a dead star, far from prying eyes. War Marshal Techmore stood in the command center of his new flagship, the Vengeance of Empire. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of over 300 Korthak warships. This is the largest battle fleet in galactic history, reported Admiral Kexval, Techmore's new second-in-command. We have ships from every corner of the Empire. Techmore's clawed hand traced the route to human space on the star map. The humans humiliated us once. That will never happen again. When we finish with them, no species will dare challenge Korthak authority. But as the alien armada prepared for war, they did not know that human intelligence satellites had been watching them. Dr. Bennett studied the enemy fleet from his position aboard the Liberty and shook his head in amazement. Captain, they are making the same mistake again. Look at their formation. They are arranged for intimidation, not battle efficiency. Morrison studied the data. The Korthak ships were arranged in neat rows, like soldiers on parade. It looked impressive but made them easy targets for concentrated fire. They still think this is about showing off their power, Morrison realized. They do not understand that we are not impressed by their numbers. Admiral Phillips gathered the captains of all 6 human ships for a final briefing. Captain Nina Walsh of the Defiance, Commander Alex Cooper of the Vigilant, and the other ship commanders listened carefully as Phillips explained the battle plan. We are outnumbered 50-1, Phillips said calmly. But we have advantages they do not expect. Our ships are faster, our weapons are more powerful, and our crews are better trained. Most importantly, we fight for our freedom while they fight to maintain their dominance. The human fleet took position near Terminus Base and waited. Long-range sensors detected the approaching Korthak armada, while the crews made final preparations for battle. Morrison stood on the Liberty's bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the largest alien fleet in history was coming to destroy humanity's hopes of freedom among the stars. All ships report ready for battle, Hayes announced. Morrison nodded. Then let them come. It is time to show the galaxy what humans can do when we fight for something we believe in. The greatest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Korthak armada arrived like a storm of metal and fire. 300 alien warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Terminus system. Their hulls gleamed in the starlight as they formed into attack formations that stretched across space like a wall of death. War Marshal Thecamore stood on the bridge of his flagship and smiled at the sight of the 6 human ships waiting near the rocky planet below. The tiny human fleet looked like fishing boats facing a hurricane. Send them a message, Thecamore ordered. Tell them to surrender now and I will make their deaths quick. Admiral Phillips received the alien ultimatum aboard the Liberty and deleted it without reading past the first line. She had more important things to worry about than empty threats. All ships battle formation Delta, Phillips commanded. Remember the plan. Speed and surprise are our best weapons. The human fleet moved into a tight formation with the Liberty at the center. The 6 battleships looked small compared to the approaching alien armada, but their crews were ready for the fight of their lives. Captain Morrison checked his ship's systems one last time. All stations report ready, Admiral. Dr. Bennett, are you monitoring their communications? Phillips asked. The scientist nodded from his station. Yes, Admiral. They are coordinating their attack like a parade formation. Very predictable. Good. Captain Walsh, take the Defiance and Guardian around their left flank. Commander Cooper, you and the Intrepid hit their right side. Morrison and I will punch straight through their center. The battle began when the Korthak fleet opened fire at maximum range. Thousands of plasma bolts and energy beams streaked across space toward the human ships. The aliens expected to destroy the small human fleet with their first attack. Instead, the human ships scattered like leaves in the wind. The Liberty and Resolute dove below the plane of battle while the other ships moved in different directions. The massive alien barrage struck empty space where the humans had been seconds before. Now, Phillips ordered. The human counterattack was devastating. 6 battleships firing at full power sent tungsten slugs and energy beams into the packed alien formation. The Korthak ships, arranged in neat rows for maximum intimidation, became perfect targets for concentrated fire. Captain Walsh led the Defiance and Guardian in a sweeping attack on the alien left wing. Her 2 ships moved like wolves hunting sheep, using their speed to stay ahead of the slower Korthak vessels while raking them with deadly fire. Direct hit on enemy cruiser, Walsh reported over the radio. Target destroyed, moving to next target. Commander Cooper took the Vigilant and Intrepid around the other side of the alien fleet. His ships fired as they moved, each shot carefully aimed at critical systems on the enemy vessels. Korthak ships began to explode or drift helplessly as Their engines were destroyed. In the center of the battle, Morrison and Phillips drove the Liberty and Resolute straight into the heart of the alien formation. The two massive battleships fired their main guns continuously, each shot punching through alien shields and armor like they were made of paper. "Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields," Chief Rodriguez reported from the engine room. "But we are taking some hits on the outer hull." The space around Terminus Base became a graveyard of burning alien ships. The Korthak had never faced an enemy that could move so fast and hit so hard. Their formations broke apart as ships tried to escape the human attack. War Marshal Thekmore watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart. "How can 6 ships destroy so many?" he roared. "Sir, their weapons are far more advanced than ours," his tactical officer reported. "And they fight like nothing we have ever seen before." "Then we will ram them," Thekmore decided. "All ships close to contact range, crush them with our numbers." But the human ships were too fast and too smart to be caught. Captain Walsh led, her 2 ships in a deadly dance around the alien vessels, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted effectively. Morrison saw the alien flagship trying to organize a counterattack and made his decision. "Admiral, requesting permission to engage the enemy command ship." "Granted," Phillips replied. "Take them down." The Liberty accelerated toward the vengeance of Empire, like a spear thrown by an angry god. Morrison's ship fired all 6 main guns at the alien flagship while smaller weapons raked its hull with streams of fire. Thekmore tried to fight back, but his ship's weapons could not track the fast-moving human battleship. The Liberty circled the alien flagship like a shark, firing continuously until the vengeance of Empire began to break apart. "Sir, we have lost main power," Thekmore's engineer reported. "The ship is dying." The proud Korthak war marshal watched, his flagship burn around him. 3,000 years of galactic dominance were ending in fire and metal. His last thought was wonder at how these unknown humans had learned to fight so well. The death of their leader broke the alien fleet's spirit. Korthak ships began to surrender or flee in all directions. Some captains tried to continue fighting, but they were quickly overwhelmed by the coordinated human attack. Within 6 hours, the battle was over. The largest alien fleet in galactic history had been destroyed by 6 human ships. Debris from over 200 Korthak vessels drifted through space around Terminus Base. Admiral Phillips stood on the Liberty's bridge and surveyed the wreckage. "Status report from all ships." "Defiance and Guardian report minor damage," Captain Walsh replied. "All crew members accounted for. Vigilant and Intrepid are operational," Commander Cooper added. "We lost some armor plating, but nothing critical." Morrison checked his own ship's condition. "Liberty is ready to continue fighting if needed, Admiral." Phillips nodded with satisfaction. "Send a message to the surviving alien ships. Tell them the war is over. Any vessel that wants to surrender will be treated fairly." News of the Korthak defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 worlds, alien leaders realized that the old order was finished. The species that had ruled through fear and intimidation had been broken by newcomers who refused to bow down. Ambassador Veltar called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. This time, she invited human representatives to join the meeting. Admiral Phillips and Captain Morrison appeared on the main screen, their faces calm but determined. "The Galactic Council recognizes the Terran Republic as a major galactic power," Veltar announced. "We invite humanity to help us build a new order based on cooperation instead of domination." Phillips smiled. "We accept your invitation, Ambassador, but we want to make something clear. Earth will never accept alien rulers, and we will protect any species that asks for our help." 5 years later, Admiral Morrison stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Council building. The structure floated in space near Earth, a symbol of the new cooperation between species. Through the windows, he could see ships from dozens of different worlds docking at the station. Human battleships shared space with alien cargo vessels and diplomatic ships. The galaxy had become a place where strength served justice instead of oppression. Dr. Bennett, now Earth's chief ambassador to the alien races, joined Morrison at the window. "It is hard to believe how much has changed since the Liberty first arrived." Morrison nodded. We came looking for friends among the stars. Instead, we found a galaxy that needed to be freed. Below them, construction crews were building new human colonies on former Korthak worlds. Alien students studied at Earth's military academies, learning that real strength came from protecting others, not conquering them. The galaxy's worst nightmare had become its greatest hope. Humanity had brought not just superior weapons but the idea that all species deserved to be free. The age of fear was over, and the age of freedom had begun.